It's a pretty interesting story how I was selected to speak to this wonderful group today. See, the foundation went through a little process. They first wanted to get the best looking person in the whole district. They brought that person up and they said, please come and speak to these people. That would really excite them. That person said, last day of summer? I don't think so. Then they said, let's get the smartest person. That would be interesting. The smartest person could come and speak to all of our school leaders, and that would be really great. Smartest person said, come speak to a bunch of principals. I'm smarter than that. So then they said, all right, let's just find the nicest, kindest, funniest, most likable person in the whole district. And they got that person and they said, please, 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 we just need you so bad. So I thought about it, and I just couldn't say no 3 times in a row. In all seriousness, it's my honor to be here with such an important group for the impact of our city and for our students. If you would do me a favor, and if you've ever been in charge of a school or in charge of a classroom where a student did something truly amazing, please raise your hand right now. Now I want you to take that hand and pat yourself on the back. See, what we do as educators, we become masters at deflecting credit. But the truth is, for brilliance to become realized, there has to be proper leadership. And in that same breath, poor leadership can silence even the brightest minds. Now, I would like to tell you a story about a brilliant student of mine. This is a story about a 6th grader that I had last year named Cam. Now, to make a long story short, Cam built a motor for a project that he was doing. He was trying to build the fastest motor. He worked, and he worked, and he bugged me, and he bugged me, and he worked on this motor. He ended up making it to the Oklahoma Engineering Fair competition of this motor. It competed, and when the results came out, he won. He beat all the other 6th graders. He didn't only do that, he beat all the 7th graders, and the 8th graders' motors, and all the high school students who were at the competition. He beat their motors. He didn't only do that, but he broke the state record for the fastest motor. And he didn't only break the state record, he more than doubled the state record for the fastest motor. Yes. See, Cam was given an avenue for his brilliance to be realized. Afterwards, we were eating, and I turned to Cam and I said, Cam, you must be a genius. And he turns to me and says, Mr. B, I'm not a genius. He said, it's like what Albert Einstein said, it's 10% inspiration, 90% perspiration. I think that attitude that it's not what we know, but it's what we're going to do about it, is something we can all take back to our schools. Now, Cam used a quote from one of my favorite people in the world, Albert Einstein. Like a teenage girl, I think I fell in love with his hair first, right? And Albert Einstein, I love a lot of things about Albert Einstein. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that Albert Einstein was a U.S. immigrant. He was an ELL student. His English was his second language, and he did most of his greatest work, a lot of his great work in English. And he came to America for a better life. It sounds like some kids that I know working here in Oklahoma City. Now, when he came over here, this wild-haired, crazy imagination, goofy-looking guy came over here, the leaders in America accepted him, and because of that, education and science in the United States was changed forever. Another example of brilliance being realized because of proper leadership. Now, when Einstein picked the United States, it was an easy choice because there was a distinct advantage to living here in the United States. The economy was booming. It was just such an advantage to be here. It was easy for him. we fast forward to today, and we look at our economy, and we have to recognize the fact that that advantage has eroded away. In fact, because of the globalization of the economy, because of the advancement of technology and the mobilization of people and jobs, that American students will face a higher competition for good jobs than ever before. Now, when economists look at the world, they still see places where there is an advantage. These are places in the world like New York City, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Austin, Texas, and a few others in other countries around the world. In fact, these economies that I just listed are so vast that you add them up and they equal the economy of the entire rest of the United States. 3 of these economies equal an economy that is greater than the entire economy of China. And when you study these areas where there is still an advantage, what makes for this? What's happened here? And it's not a surprise that it's because of the people who live there. And you know what? As we study these areas, we find out that it's a trait that we find in these areas in an unusual density. And it's not a trait that you might think. It's not test scores. It's not high school diplomas, and it's not even college diplomas. What Robert Flora found in his book, Flight of the Creative Class, is that these places have an unusual amount of highly creative people. In fact, they found this kind of critical mass of highly creative people, and they have created what Bill Gates calls IQ magnets. What does that mean for Oklahoma City? Number 1, it means that as we sit today, if a student were to choose to stay in Oklahoma City, they don't have an inherent advantage here. And number 2, if we do, as Oklahoma City Public Schools, if we do produce one of these highly trained, highly creative, innovative people, we are likely to lose them to one of these areas. This is not a doom and gloom story because I have some good news. See, what we can do in Oklahoma City to help this is we need to somehow find a large amount of highly creative, highly trained people right here in Oklahoma City, and we need to maintain them here in Oklahoma City. And I want to propose to you that we are already halfway there. See, right under our nose, we have the most creative minds, some of the most innovative people, and some of the wildest imaginations on earth. And guess what? They're all about to start school on August 1st. Right? Our kids are the answer for our city. So, our job is to train them, to have them find their passion, to become really good at something. And to do that by not suffocating out that creative spirit they already have. And I want you to consider that every time a teacher gives a worksheet so that the kids will shut up for a little bit, that what we're really doing is we're shutting down that creative spirit. That every time we get a lesson that isn't relevant, that doesn't relate to the real world, that we are pushing out that engineer, that innovator, that inventor. And we're pushing that, and we're suffocating that out. That every time we reject an idea, because it's not what we're used to, we're rejecting the very thing we need for our city, and the very thing we need for our students. So what do we do about it? How do we get our kids to become the best version of themselves, to reach that potential? My answer to that is simple. We do all that we can, and we do it one child at a time. See, every child has something that's getting in the way of their potential. And our job is to get in the way of that is getting in the way of their potential. When I grew up, I had a lot that was getting in my way. I grew up very poor. My father was an alcoholic. My mother used drugs every day. My father passed away. We switched from a low-income family to a no-income family. I can remember doing my homework in the bathroom because it was the only place left in my house where the lights were working and where I could see my books. Now, what did it for me? I'm going to tell you what did it for me is I had a school and a principal and a teacher that saw me for more than a test score, that saw me as having a dream. And when they told me I could reach my dreams, I believed them and they believed in me. And I stand here today knowing that we can make a difference. I know that it can happen because it happened to me. I want to close with this thought. And it comes from one of my favorite authors, C.S. Lewis, who was also a Christian theologian. And as he was describing his understanding of a spiritual life, he says these words. He says, "You don't have a soul." Now that will get your attention, but let me finish the quote because it's so profound. I want you to hear it. It says, "You don't have a soul. You are a soul. You have a body." Now, as you consider what that means for a spiritual life, I want you to consider the same kind of paradigm shift for how you think about your school. See, that school that you're in charge of, that school doesn't have students that go there. Your school is the students that go there. The name that defines your school is not the name on the side of the building, but it's names like Jose and Maria and Johnny and Monica. Those are the names that matter. They are all that matter. Here in Oklahoma City, we don't run a school. We raise a child. And I encourage you to continue to inspire, to continue to perspire, and to do all that you can for the future of our city and for the future of the lives of our students. Thank you, and God bless.